On today's video, we will discuss market manipulation in the secondary market for Magic the Gathering's reserve list and non-reserve list cards. Stay tuned. Did you guys know that there is market manipulation in Magic the Gathering? Are you aware of this? I'm just telling you like it is. It happens. There are people who hoard these cards and don't share them. And then they take them and they sell them for a higher profit after they've cornered the market. It's ridiculous. Who allows this to happen? Come on, guys. We all know anyone who's been around Magic the Gathering long enough understands that there is market manipulation inside this game. We did an experiment well over a month ago now for Soldevi Excavations, right? It was amazing. We had tons of people on the channel participate and join in my fun, and before we all knew it, that card more than doubled in value. Now, when you take a look at that card, and you see now it's starting to retreat, it's starting to come down, because more product has come onto the market, right? People have gone through bulk bins, things have been found. But it also drives the price down and allows people to buy it again, those who are trying to corner the market. It's very interesting to see this happen, this phenomenon, especially in Magic the Gathering. There's ways of doing it on Wall Street and all that stuff, but it's a lot more high stakes and you don't get anything out of it at the end. At least we always have the Magic card to play with, which is awesome. Now, if you're a person who wants to manipulate the market, you've got to corner a large chunk of a particular card, which is why this is much more effective when you do it with reserve list cards, because you know how hard they are to ever get. The print runs are finite. There's only so many. In any era card, modern onwards, any of the newer cards, it's much harder to do and actually move the market. Really, those cards do have to be half decent and have to be used in decks and premiered, but it can still happen there too. It can, on a negligible scale, right? So let's take a look first. I want to show you guys Soldevi Excavation. Let me just pop this baby up here. So right now, as of today, this is a Friday where I'm showing this video, and we're talking 47 bucks. This is like what, October 8th? Okay, $47. The average is $34.16 US. The market is $34.82. And €20.92 will get you that card. But I managed to track down online through all kinds of retailers and people, 509 copies are available. Okay? 509 copies are out there now. Where before I couldn't find that many, except for Card Market did always have a large amount. But the shipping fees and costs are ridiculous, so you really can't get your hands on those. So people have gone through bulk bids. They have restocked. Places like eBay are still low. TCG Player, not that many. Card Market's got a lot, guys. Right? Now remember, I'm talking just English copies here, but there's a lot. Okay? There's a lot out there still. It's starting to reflush back into the market. So we did raise the price. Not rise, raise the price up. And now it's kind of drifting down as more stock comes on. But it's the first time anyone's ever tried to do that with that card. And how many of us now have 4, 5, 6, 12, 20 copies of this card? How many Rudy of Alpha Investments have 100 copies? Thank you for that email response. You were awesome, buddy. So when you get that stuff, you see how many people have. And you realize how rare the card actually is. That's why people tend to do market manipulation stuff with the reserve list. When you control a large chunk of it, you get to set the price. There will be people who will undercut you and do a lower priced amount. I've done it myself on eBay where I'm like, hey, Mr. Rainforest, $100, I'll put mine for like 65. And mine sells right away. Now it's good, I got my money. Great. But that person still has it and they're the only person who has it. So eventually it sells at that price. It's a race to the bottom. But when you control the most, when you have the absolute most, well, you're going to win in the end because everyone else has sold their copies. That's why it's so effective in reserve list when you do it this way. Now, with City of Shadows, we had a much smaller pool of players to deal with. It was an expensive card. I understand it wasn't cheap, but for those who participated and sent me all the emails, that was awesome. Now, let's take a look. If we see Soldevi Excavations there, the market has moved. A little over a week and a half ago when we started this little experiment, it was at $82. Now it's at $98. It has risen in price. You can find it for $100 Canadian, and I only managed to track down 156 copies. That is not a lot in English. The lower print run of this particular card makes it that much more inaccessible for people to get. So to move the market, yes, it costs more, but usually the changes you make to markets of old cards like this are longer lasting. People don't just go out and spend this kind of money on these cards to dump them back onto the market. They hoard them, they hold them, they use them in decks, and that is the end result. The price goes up for a longer period of time and it sticks. It doesn't drift down. And when a price sticks, you have to understand, it's not coming back. People spent good money to buy this card. So for reserve list cards, it's much more effective to do. Now, if you're talking about any card that's not reserve list, in this case, I'm going to show you Mox Amber because I have thousands of copies of it. So you guys can see Mox Amber here is $45 Canadian. The average price is $37.61. The market is $29.75. And of course, the foil is $88.25. And what I'm doing for this video, I'm not using foil copies, by the way. And it's €24.74. And of all the copies I looked on all the platforms that were English, I found 916 that were available for sale. There's other non-English versions which I didn't touch. I stayed away from all those, and I stayed away from the foils because it would skew what I'm trying to show you guys today. So, for that reason, I didn't want to mess things up. So I didn't go with like all the foils and all the different English, non-English versions of the card. I stuck with English stuff because it was easier to calculate and work out what I thought would happen, okay? So think about that. A modern era card, a new card from the last couple of years, and you can see the effect that it's going to have. There's a lot more copies out there, but even then there's not as many as you'd think, right? It's like somebody cornered the market or tried to corner the market on that card. Funny. So now we take a look at the next part, which is, here's Soldevi Excavations. Remember I told you there was 509 copies available. Well, guess what? It would only take $27,000 Canadian to have 0 copies for sale. That's all it would take. And judging by how things have been going up in price, the estimated effect on this card would mean this card would go above $100 a copy. Okay? So it's going to jump pretty high if you kept buying it up. Now, there would be some skewing of pricing. I added a few $1,000s on because as you bought out copies, unless you could do it effectively and really fast across multiple platforms, what happens is people see you're buying it and they start to raise their price. So I did add a little bit to each number because let's face it, when you're getting to these levels of cards, people are going to understand what you're doing very quickly. They're going to adjust their prices to try to say, hey, I don't really want you buying all of that card. I really don't. So if this is the case, you got to do it all at once or your numbers are going to be skewed up. And if they're skewed, you're going to be paying tens of thousands of dollars more because people put it 70, 80, 90 bucks, right? That's why in the old days of reserve list buyouts, people would jump on a group of cards, one card, let's say, and it'd be a mass buyout in a day across multiple platforms. The last buyout we saw was across multiple levels of buyout cards, and it was spread all over the place like a big slathering of butter across bread. So it's much harder to do. But this does happen all the time. What we've done in this channel and what I try to teach people and let people understand is that it's going to keep happening. It's not really going to stop. And it's going to be most effective in reserve list cards. Now, if we take a look at City of Shadows, that's the next one. City of Shadows is roughly $100 Canadian right now for a kind of heavily played copy, right? I only found 156 copies available. So for there to be 0 copies, I've got to spend $24,000 to get that 156 copies because it's more expensive. Now the effect on this card though would put it well over $300 judging on what they've done on MTG here, where you can see the scale going up. I just carried that scale forward, roughly estimating for sales as it went across of that $10 difference we've seen. This would kind of jump up. Where we saw a $100 card for Soldevi, this card would almost go even higher because the lower print run will force it to go up faster. Knowing that there is no copies available and it's just a blank slate would just cause chaos. Okay, when a card disappears, it goes chaos. That's what happens. Because then people start getting FOMO, they start freaking out, they're wondering what's going on. So market manipulation can have multiple unintended consequences. There are people who just love the card and want to get as many copies as they can. Your prerogative to do what you want with your money. I myself try to stay on budget at all times, even when I mess up. Go back to being on budget. But when you see this and you see what people can do, you understand for reserve list cards it's much easier because now I'm going to show you what happens with Mox Amber. Now in Mox Amber's case, remember I said there was 916 English copies available. It would take $75,000 US. Now, I put in brackets there 45,000 and explain. Trying to buy 916 copies from all the available platforms, they're going to catch you. People are going to see cards disappearing and they're going to double the price, which means 45 became closer to 90. So I averaged it out at around $75,000 US to get all those copies. And that would be all, just buying all the copies I could find. That doesn't mean there wouldn't be restocks. When people saw that card, I just showed you there, it jumps up that much in value, becomes a $100 card, it instantly becomes a reprint target. Wizards goes, whoa, look at the value of that card. Not that they follow the secondary market and not that they're into market manipulation. No. Wizards wouldn't do that to us. Never. Come on. If they saw that jumping, that card would go top of the line. They would think everyone loves the card and it would be a falsehood because not everyone uses that card, but that's the effect it would have. Okay, it would be considered a wow card and they'd want to reprint it as quick as possible. So these effects on the market can have negative and positive consequences depending on which end of the spectrum you're on. If you're a person trying to manipulate the market and corner something, you almost guaranteed have to go for a reserve list card. It's very hard to get the modern buyout. I own a couple thousand copies of Mox Amber, and even then, the price effect I've had is probably negligible. There's still hundreds of copies all over the place for sale, right? But reserve list cards, when you buy them and they don't go back on the market, people take notice and it really shifts that price to an upward trend. And after you have the upward trend and you control a large stake in that market, if you've managed to corner, I don't know, let's just say you cornered Kajoran Outpost. You've got the Outpost. You own like 12,000 copies of it. You've been diligent. You've been buying the copies. You've been finagling for years and you got 12,000 copies. Okay? Then you hit the market right now and you snag up another 1,000 copies, what's kind of on the market right now. That price is going to shoot up really fast. And then if that is most of what was left, you get to drip that onto the market at the new increased price levels very slowly. And every copy you bought for 25, 30 bucks, you're now selling it back into the market at what? 35, 40, 50, 70, 100, who knows? But you're dripping it at a much higher increase. And people are like, hey, that card shot up, man. That's a good card. It's a near mint copy. I'm grabbing it. But after you're in control of the wheel, you get to steer the price. That's what cornering the market is all about in Magic the Gathering. It's happened a lot. It still happens now. Okay? There's lots of dummy accounts out there from some high-end person who's cornered the market and they're just dripping things out. And if you do want that card, you're going to be paying the price to get it. Now, for modern era cards, say we had Tiamat. It was a $25 card. And I want to corner the market on Tiamat. I need millions of dollars. But let's just say I have it. And you manage to hit the market hard enough because it's still a fun card. That card's been dropping. It's like what? $18 Canadian? Let's just say it goes to 15 bucks Canadian and you put in $500,000. And you did it all at once. Well, tomorrow that card's going to be 40 bucks again. It's going to shoot right up. And then everyone sees that it's going up in price, they're either going to trade in or they're going to hold. If they hold and there's other people looking for that card, you get to drip yours out at a higher cost, right? You're going to be gaining. But that's a lot of copies to buy at 15 bucks a pop and $500,000 investment you're hoping will pan out. That's why this works so much easier with reserve list cards and how the market changes. So guys, let me know what you think of this video. I'd love to see those comments in the comment section. Thanks a lot for tuning in. I look forward to seeing everyone later in the week. Have a great one. This is MTG Mox, man. See you soon. Hey, a big shout out to all my wonderful and supportive patrons who make this channel happen each and every day. It is patrons that make the Moxman's wheel go round and round. So thanks again for all the support, you wonderful patrons. I look forward to seeing you guys all soon. Just to set the record straight, I really didn't try to buy out Mox Amber. I know I kind of hinted at it in the video. I was just chilling out and I liked the card. And now I get to look at it over and over and over again. But seriously, look how easy it would be. $27,000 is not that much if somebody just wants to go hog wild and have some fun. I mean, it's a lot of money, don't get me wrong, but that's like selling a couple of Power 9 cards and then just destroying a market. It's crazy how that can happen. I wonder who's watching this video at the end. Are you that person who made it this far? If you are, we'll have some fun and we'll put nachos and cheese because I'm having some this weekend for sure. So nachos and cheese in the comments section if you made it that far. And no, I wasn't buying out Mox Amber. You guys are crazy. That was not my intention. I was thinking of buying out Mox Tantalite. That was it. I know, we're back again. You thought it was over, but it wasn't over. It wasn't over. I found an old deck box. Not that old in the sense of what it is, but I guess I switched decks out and I shoved things in here. And I found an old deck in here. And it obviously hasn't been looked at for a while, but I want to show you something. Because I used to have cards all the time. I was having fun trying to build like constructed decks. So this one starts off with a couple of alpha near mint Library of Langs. So I did this Tybalt deck because Tybalt says you have to discard, right? So the original Tybalt from Innistrad said discard. And this guy, I figured, well, the Library of Langs don't make me discard. I paid $5 each. And these are like nice. Well, maybe they're just lightly played. Maybe they're not near mint. But I thought there was more, and apparently there's not. I went looking, though, because you know what? With these old decks, when I build things, guys, like original like Faithless Looting and stuff, you don't know what's in here. I have to go looking because you never know what you're going to find. And that's the scary thing. When you don't know what you're going to find, you have to take a look. Because if you don't, you'll regret it later. That's just the way it is. And in this case, hey, there's Kozilek, the Great Distortion. I think he's worth something. You guys can let me know in the comment section. There you go, though. A couple more alpha cards found. I'm not complaining about that. Have a great one, everyone. That's right. It was part 2 of this video today.